Kathy, that reminds me of a book that Peter read a bunch, and I never read. It's called Amusing Ourselves to Death. I think it's Neil Postman. And, but the cover is a human body and a television for a head. And I do think that that is kind of what we're doing right now. I think it's really hard to say what our number one priority is, except I think Kathy just said it so eloquently right now. So, but I wanted to say, I'm just struck by what David talked about at the end of his talk. The people who were out on the street were making a difference. And I think that that is our priority, is to be out on the street, to be as vocal and as clear as we can be about the different issues of injustice and the different issues of peace that we need to be talking about. Right now, I'm working with actually a fair amount of you all with the Upstate Coalition to Ground the Drones and Stop the Wars. And it's been a great group of people to be working with, and it's very exciting. I feel like over the past couple of years, the momentum that is growing, and I think that to be at the gates at Hancock Airfield, where those drones are being manned from and maintained, is an essential piece to all of this, to not let it go by. People drive by as if nothing's going on in there, and they're committing murder, they're breaking the law, it's illegal what they're doing in there, and I think it's important, not important, it's essential for us to be out there naming what it is that they're doing inside there. So that's been the work that we've been doing, and I think bringing the voice of the victims is essential, but also challenging the illegality of what they're doing. And that has been a sort of one of the key pieces that has been important to me. And so the actions that we've taken, where we've blockaded the road to get in the way of the illegality of what they're doing, and then we've been arrested for that, gone to jail for that, and gone to trial. And I think that the trial piece for me, and I'll try to not have you all glaze over on this one, but it's a piece that I didn't completely understand, having been through many trials around civil resistance in this country. And our friend John Hamilton, who's here, and maybe you can speak to this at some point and clarify it a little bit more. The action that we took, in the United States Constitution, Article 6 of the Constitution, and maybe many of you know this already, it says all treaties that are signed become the supreme law of the land, and that every judge is to uphold that law, that treaty, those treaties. And that's what it says. It's sort of like you go, really? It says that? It's like, whoa, I didn't know that. So, I remember the first time hearing that and thinking, wow, and we have all these incredible treaties that Lord, these nuclear weapons, we're not, first strike nuclear weapons, we're not supposed to be doing it, and we're, wars of aggression, we're not supposed to be doing it, right? And then go to court, and every time it gets shut down, and you're like, that's not fair! And so it's just, but John helped us to sort of understand that that actually, after that Constitution was brought into being in 1803, soon afterwards, they said, well, actually, it doesn't have to do with, the Supreme Court made a ruling saying it doesn't have to do with the president's war-making or international policies. And that again was reaffirmed, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in 1962, that sort of basically negates what that part of the treaty, that part of the Constitution says. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because it was helpful for me to understand what I needed to say to a judge when I went into the courtroom. Because the Supreme Court has made bad rulings before, right? And then I just needed to be able to say, this is what it says in the Constitution, and yes, the Supreme Court made a ruling on this, but that's the wrong ruling. And this part of this Constitution keeps our president in check. And when we allow them to do what they're doing, without this part of the Constitution, we see what's happening now in the world, and that we have no check on our president and the things that he's doing. Let me see. So that was the key piece for me, because I just felt like we keep going back to court, and we know that the laws are already there. The UN Charter was signed, I think it was December of 1945. The world was sick of war. They created this incredible document, imperfect as it is, to try to stop and prevent it from continuing to happen. And we signed it. Our Senate was at 89-2, signs this treaty and says, hey, we're going to stop. And we've never followed it ever since then. And so I feel like one of the jobs in our in the court has been to call the judges to their responsibility to uphold the law, and that the laws are there. And John has made this analogy: lynching was never legal in the United States. It was never legal to hang somebody from a tree. But man, the judges and the whole system turned a blind eye for years and years and years. And that is not to say that there is not another form of lynching going on for the African American community in this country, but it's to say that that form right now, hanging somebody from a tree, is unacceptable. And that we have laws that said you can't do that, right? And we have laws right now, those that say killing innocent civilians is illegal, wars of aggression are illegal, violation of national sovereignty is illegal. So the use of these drones are a violation of all of those things. The wars that we have been perpetrating, Iraq and Afghanistan, are all illegal, and that we need to be pointing it out to them. They've got the laws written down there, and we have to hold them to that responsibility. So there's just one other point. In our last case, it was when we were being sentenced, the judge, he was an amazing judge in some ways, and he really bothered me in other ways, but he was an amazing guy. We had a lot of dialogue, and several people here in this room were part of that trial, and sorry to keep repeating this stuff. But anyway, but one of the things, when he was sentencing me, I said, because the way he got out of it, Ramsey Clark came and he testified at the trial, but the way he got out of it was, about having to address the international law issue was that he said, there's no, none of that is binding, and because he was talking about the Nuremberg stuff because it hasn't been ratified by the United States, and so I challenged him again about the UN Charter, and that was ratified by the Senate, and I said, and this is your chance. This is your chance to do something and to say something and to follow these laws. And he said, well, what do you want me to do? He goes, you want me to tell the President of the United States what to do? And I was like, yes, that is actually what I want you to do.